Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, Dre and myself are on with Jeff and Kyle, the KCS2 owners. Thank you guys for being on.
What's up? Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for having us, guys.
You guys just shit on our intro. On our podcast.
It's like Saturday.
I was like, whoa. You guys got to give us a heads up.
Yeah, dude, I was waiting for the monster truck rally, announcement after this.
I was like, is Bruce Buffer
Tickets
the guy that's going to announce this? What the hell?
I was waiting for the guy to be like, tickets only $5. You know what I'm talking about? So it was awesome.
You can tell they also have podcast experience. Probably they have more than us. So
a few more.
We're going to get some experience.
It's just
here.
standard conversations, but with a mic in front of you, right?
Exactly.
No big deal. We're still super jealous of that intro, though. I'm still going back like, man.
Nice. And also,
how'd you swing that, Ricky?
Couches, dude. We do it at Jeff's table.
My dining room chairs.
It's not bad. It's not a bad setup, but it's not the couches. And very rarely do we drink whiskey.
We certainly don't get to drink whiskey on our podcast.
See?
Yeah.
That's what we were talking before, that this was starting off going to be the first podcast without drinks, and then we had to fix that.
We're like, dude, we can't.
We're not going to be.
We don't want to be those guys.
We don't want to end we're certainly not going to end the streak.
Yeah, I mean, we're like 19 straight right now drinking, so we got to keep it going.
Hey, respect. We're episode number 19.
Yep.
Very cool.
20.
20. All right, even better.
Ricky dropping the facts out.
Wrong
Thanks,
numbers.
Ricky.
Let's go. So, you guys, let's hear some background on when did you get into Supplement Superstore? What's that look like? The evolution of the start of that.
Sure. We have a little bit of a different start, but honestly, same kind of like a ascendance, if you will. So, Supplement Superstores, if anybody doesn't know, that's what we call S2, just because the name Supplement Superstore is long and arduous, and S2 is way better. So back in the day, two guys named Andy Frisilla and Chris Klein started this while they were sophomores in college at formerly Southwest Missouri State, now just Missouri State. And Kyle and I decided to go to Missouri State as well. And so while we were down there, I was legitimately looking for an easy job to collect a paycheck while I was in school. And I genuinely didn't really value hard work at the time. That's just the truth. I was 19. And so I found this little hole-in-the-wall spot that had, like, if you haven't seen our original logo, Ricky, this is where you would put the original logo right here.
This is 2008, by the way.
We're going to make
Put
Ricky
it up in the sky right here.
Somewhere
Ricky
around here.
loves when he gets called out to plug things.
Sure, yeah. Could you put the logo right here, Ricky? And so these are going to be cartoon bears that are like flexing. It's a horrendous logo.
No, it's awesome.
It's one of our
so bad that it's become cool now.
Exactly. It's the definition of like vintage. I mean, it was literally a cartoon, right? So this is 1999. We're right here at the threshold of the .com boom, right? And they decided to open up a retail store and do it old school and give it the most generic name possible. And so really, really small-minded thought, hey, we're going to open this like sports nutrition supplement store, kind of like a GNC, but like different kind of products. And we're going to put it as close as we can to campus. And we're just going to work that during the day and work the bar at night. It's going to be awesome, And if you listen to Andy's podcast, the MFCO Project, or his new one, Real AF, I know he's got some episodes where he talks about they did $6 their first day in business, $0 their second day. And I believe it took them 6 to 8 months to have a $200 day. And so it was really humble beginnings, right? And then by the time I got there, we hadn't done much better. That's the truth. It was January of 2008. And we had just acquired 4 locations in St. Louis, where legitimately a smaller mom and pop type shop in St. Louis was going out of business. It was called Attilio's. And when Attilio's was going out, they called Andy and Chris down in Springfield. And at the time they were about 26 to 28, somewhere in there. And they said, hey, do you want to come up here and open these up and take over our leases? And so to buy the company, all they had to do was take over the lease. They said, we'll give you all the inventory. We'll give you all the shelving. Like, we just don't want to declare bankruptcy. And so they said, okay. Andy moved overnight. Chris handled the store down in Springfield, and while Andy was up in St. Louis, that's where he was trying to figure out what are we going to do to separate ourselves. Now we're kind of like stuck in this. We know we have to do this. We have to make this work because now we're in charge of 5 leases or 6 leases, and now we need to really make this work. And so while I was down in Springfield, honestly, Springfield wasn't under the same kind of thumb as St. Louis, right? Because Andy was really close to St. Louis stores. And so they were basically guinea pigging things in St. Louis while me and Kyle were down in Springfield, goofing off in the beginning.
So how'd you two meet?
Good story. I'll let you answer that, dude.
Yeah, so I used to work at a bar called Zan. So I did security there. I bartended there. I did bar backing. And my buddy at the time, Mike Taylor, basically became a district manager for Supplement Superstores. He eventually became a executive for First Form. Me and Mike Taylor worked at this bar together, and Mike Taylor was like, man, I got to find something to do during the day so we don't day drink, because you guys can understand being in college. You're just kind of like, you go to class, and then it's like, after class, what do you do? And then you go work on the weekends. You got to have something to do during the week.
Well, you obviously got to study during the week, right?
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. I forgot. We were studying a lot.
Yeah.
And anyways, Mike Taylor was like, I got to go find something to do. And so he's like, we had a buddy that worked at GNC. He's like, I'm going to go try and get a job at GNC. He got shut down there. And so he went over to that other place, it was Supplement Superstores, which is where I had been shopping anyways. And he was like, I got a job first thing I did when I walked in there. And he was like, you should get a job there too. And I remember thinking, I was working, I was getting ready to go on I was doing an internship. And so I went and did the internship. And then when I came back, Jeff's selling me on this job. And his selling point to me, this will give you guys an idea as to like how much of an infancy we were as a company at this time. Jeff was like, yeah, dude, this is an awesome job. We close at 7, so you can drink basically every night if you want to. We're never open on Sundays, so you can go out and party as much as you want on Saturday night. And we don't open till 10, so it's like you sleep in every day. And,
it's a good thing you guys didn't have one in Maryville.
Yeah.
We'd probably both be
It was an easy transition. Like the truth is, it's an easy transition out of college to have to, one, we had a lot of autonomy, right? We didn't have a lot of strong management at the time. And so for the last,
Jeff was our manager.
yeah, that's true. And so I just got given the second location in Springfield to also manage. And so I needed human beings to fill up the schedule. You know what I mean? Like, heaven forbid they be good at their job. All I thought about was just, I need to fill this schedule. And, I wanted to find people that were like-minded, and Kyle was a customer, but also one of Mike's best friends, if not his absolute best friend he had. And so I was like, it makes a lot of sense. The only issue was he was in this internship. So I was like, hey, man, you need to get back here ASAP, or else we're giving the job to somebody else.
Early. My internship, I was working for a property management company called Resort Quest down in Florida. So I'm at the beach every day and doing that.
You were like selling Wyndham, weren't you?
No, I was working at a property management company. I was managing, I think we had like 30 different properties under management. It wasn't glorious. It was like working 70 hours. It was internship, you guys.
But you're on the beach all week, and he's like,
well, I'm not really on the beach, but it was just funny because Jeff's like, you got to get back here, dude. Like if you don't,
You're a
then
hell
I'm
of a
gonna
salesman.
find
You're going to
somebody
lose this
else. You're gonna lose this
opportunity.
I get back, and dude, I mean, we were seeing like sometimes 5 to 10 people a day. 5 might be low, but like 10 people a day for real. And
If you hit double digits, if you hit $1,000 in sales in a day, you thought that was pretty good.
You were just like, we're ballers.
And nowadays you go in Supplement Superstores everywhere. They're just like packed all the time.
Yeah. And dude, it was just one of those things where I got back and I was like, dude, I had 2 weeks left on my internship. You could at least let me finish that. It's not like
Someone's got to open the store, dog.
Yeah. Jeff being selfish was like, dude, I was having to open the store, man. Like, you got to get
I was
back
doing
here.
this myself.
I get back.
Hey.
Jeff trains me for 2 days,
2
and then
stores.
I'm opening the store by myself.
Hey, 2 stores. You got to have 2 openers now.
He's like, I got to teach you how to use both keys for the front door and the back
dude.
door.
Yeah, dude.
You got that down, you got it.
But to be
Kyle
honest
had
with
Kyle
you,
cred. He was like 250 jacked. He would just be like, get this. He didn't have to be trained.
yeah, I was like, oh, dude, you got to understand, Mike Taylor, my best friend, was working there for, a year prior to me working there. And so I knew on day one, I knew basically as much about supplements as Mike, not quite as much, but I had a pretty decent knowledge about supplements. I had already had a decent knowledge about nutrition
And training.
Yeah, and training. And so that was like my passion outside of it. And so I came into the job pretty much okay at being able to like help people. But it was relatively quick after that Andy went through a growth phase as far as like he decided, this is what we're going to do. He launched a different company called First Form. He dedicated himself to making the best products possible. And then he basically, in our industry, basically what had happened is, the internet had came along. And so you had to decide at some point, what is what we're going to offer to people that is going to make people loyal to our company. And we decided at that point that, we're going to be the absolute best when it comes to customer service. We're going to be the absolute best when it comes to getting people results. And then we're also going to, offer prices that are as low as what the internet would offer. And, during that time, there was a ton of growing pains because, like I said, you guys just heard the way that we talked about like our first working there, and that like flipped on its head relatively quickly, probably by like 2011.
How old were you guys in like 2011?
I was probably 24.
I was 23. Yeah.
So I feel like that's a lot of times where that like kind of that like college wears out. You're like out, and then it's like time to put my big boy pants.
Yeah,
on.
expectations of yourself go up.
And then all of a sudden you're like, if I want to make a career of this, what does that look like? And I feel like that kind of that schedule flips where it's like when we were in college, I'm like, well, if I'm not going to miss this party tonight. Like I'm not.
Yeah, there's got to be a time in your career where you say to yourself, like, my career is more important than these like short-term satisfaction type nights. Like, oh, it's Thursday night, I got to go hit up Hot Country Nights, and we're like, I mean, dude, none of that really matters long term if you're really caring about what you say you care about.
Yeah, that's right. I bet that probably turning point on a lot of that stuff was. I see it in a lot of people. And I look for that. Like, and I think you guys are really good at that too, of catching those people. Like we talk about that.
Well, we try to really, you try to educate them on that. But I would say that like, you really have to show them an example of growth for them to get it. Right. And I think that age happens for, and we deal, a lot of our employees are 18 to 24 year olds, right? And they're all just kind of like finding themselves, or, ideally they know what they want. They want to get after it quickly. But a lot of the times it's you having to show them, this is what, success could look like for you if, you have to really actually do what you say you're going to do. You know what I mean?
And when you guys are placing those things in their minds, is that something that's obtainable? Because I know a lot of companies, it's like, hey, you could reach $2 million in your first 3 months. And then everyone's like,
you could.
Okay.
You could.
You got to have someone to point at, right? I'm sure you guys can understand, like someone saying like, hey, this so-and-so did this much in sales or whatever. Kyle and I are very fortunate that him and I were both put in that position. So we were both minimum wage hourly employees, and so it's like, we own our own market now, and you can do that too. And we're living, breathing examples of it versus it being this, example that no one's ever done yet.
Yeah. To kind of fast forward like through our careers, I got moved to St. Louis. I ran 3 different stores for us in St. Louis. I eventually became a district manager. Jeff continued to basically be the DM, quote unquote, of our Springfield locations. And in 2016, Andy, because of basically we were just 2 of a handful of guys that had been there for such a long time. And Andy had the idea, and he still has this, and that's why I think he's a really good business mind. Is he wants the people underneath him to do really successful. And so he had the idea of like, I'm going to fund my own franchises because, to be honest with you guys, I always tell people we have the worst franchisable model in the country, because if you think about it, you open a Subway, I can plug anybody into a Subway and it's going to be the same sandwiches, relatively the same sandwiches. You're probably going to be close to the same net profit, and you don't have to really think about it. Our stores are the exact opposite of that. You have to hire good people. The training is ridiculous because you're trying to plug a ton of information into somebody. It's just not, it's not super scalable, super fast.
Our number one product is our staff.
Yeah.
And for business minds, it's like, okay, so what's your number one product? Ours is our staff. When I read a review on Subway, they're talking about the sandwich, they're talking about the price, they're not talking about the sandwich artist, as they call them.
If you read our reviews, they're all about our staff.
Only our staff.
They're not about like you get no reviews that are like, oh, I tried this product, I really liked it. It's all just like, dude, I talked to Blake, and Blake was the best guy that I've ever talked to when it came to nutrition.
Which I feel very much is like a business model. The one thing that comes to mind, like I know the guy that owns Chick-fil-A in Liberty.
Okay.
I didn't know a whole lot about Chick-fil-A until I sold him all of his vehicles. And Chick-fil-A is something that they fund, and they go out and they find the family that owns all the Chick-fil-A's, they fund building them. They're the only fast food restaurant in the country that is 100% debt free.
Yeah.
They have no debt on them. And when they build these, like if they pick you to be an owner, you go through a lot of vetting. You have to go out and work at some location, which they call them non-standalone. So like airport locations, universities, stuff like that.
Mall food courts.
Yeah. So then they'll end up putting you into a standalone, and then you're a 50% owner of that location. You didn't have to put up any money for it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But their like business model, it's like their number one product is also their staff.
The number one in the entire country, Chick-fil-A owner has 3.
Yeah. So they cap
3.
out like most of the time if you're
I didn't know you could own 3.
Yeah, they're just now going to 2 or 3 for operators.
They do $12 million in sales per year out of one location.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
That's a lot of chicken.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a Chick-fil-A where you're like, I had terrible service there today?
No.
It's rare. I mean, like I've been, but they're incredible. I mean, like they're a well-oiled machine.
I think
they put their staff first a lot, which is important.
The notable thing about Chick-fil-A is they've been around for like 30 or 35 years, and they've just slowly grown over time. Yep. And if you look at like their success, you really think about it in terms of like the last 5 to 10 years, but they have been doing that for the last 30 years. So it's been a slow grind for them because they chose to do. And the fact of the matter is now, could you ever see a Chick-fil-A closing down? Dude, They have lines wrapped around the freaking block for their food. Yeah. They're never going to close down. And it's because they did it slowly, the right way from the very beginning. And that's kind of the way that I look at our business is like, we're never going to be, if you guys remember like when Complete Nutrition exploded on the market and there was Complete Nutritions popping up everywhere, that's probably not going to be us, right? And it's because it takes a lot to.
It's funny that you say that because there's a Complete Nutrition in Liberty right over by Genesis, and then there was Supplement Superstore.
Like across the street.
Yeah. So when Complete Nutrition came to Liberty, that's where I went because it was on the way to the gym. And you go in there, and if someone was at the counter, it was a rarity. Like you go in there, I'd just like look around, like, hey, like, I know what I want to buy. Like, somebody work here? Yeah. I'd be like up at the counter, like knocking on the counter, trying to get something.
Right.
It's like you go to Supplement Superstore, and there's 3 people in there all the time that they're not hiding out in the back watching Netflix, something like that. There are 3 people that know fitness. There's somebody that you can physically tell that they work out.
Yeah.
And then they're not like overly trying to sell you on one thing. Like that's why I dislike GNC. And we talked about that before. Like you go in there and it's like they're trying to sell me on the most random shit I've ever seen. I'm like, I don't want that. Like I told you I like this pre-workout. I just want to buy it.
Yeah.
And like I'll buy this or that. But Supplement Superstore, the training is actually like that person cares.
Yeah.
Which is very surprising. Like in that space is a very rare.
Oh, it's awesome to hear you say that. I mean, we certainly strive for that. I think that's me and Kyle's biggest focus when it comes to training our staff is that they come across as genuine professionals that care.
Yeah.
You know, happy to be there, happy to help just from the way they say hello is what we teach. But the thing is, we're not perfect. And, you know, I'll explain this, as an example of just like how we're always striving for perfection, but we're not going to be. I'm at a grand opening event this past weekend at a local gym called Element Fitness up in Lenexa. And the gym's great, by the way, but as I'm leaving the gym, I hear a guy talking to a pre-workout booth that is a pre-workout that we carry in our store. And as I'm walking to my car to leave, I hear this dude saying like, yeah, I don't go to Supplement Superstores. Like, I don't want a sales pitch. And I was like, hard. I turn around immediately.
Is Jeff working the counter?
Yeah. I turn around immediately and I'm like, hey man, my name's Jeff. I actually own those stores. I'm really sorry to hear you had that experience. You know, can you tell me more about it? And he backtracked immediately. He's just like, oh no, man,
they're not that bad.
No, dude, it was good. Like, it wasn't even bad. Like, the guy he meant well. Like, I'm like, no, listen, man, like you didn't have a good experience and that's our fault. And I want to get it better now. Like,
which that makes a good business owner by itself. And I mean, we deal with 60 plus business owners week over week, and people that can hold themselves accountable to those kind of things are the companies that you see grow. And I can promise you, Andy didn't do everything perfect the whole entire way up.
Sure.
But he was good at understanding that accountability side, which you guys relay to your staffing. And I mean, I've talked to everyone here at our company about the unicorn of what you guys have done. I was like, I don't know how the hell these guys keep acquiring the people that they acquire. And they find just unicorns everywhere.
Dude, it's just how it's honestly training, to be honest. Like, I wish Like, it's awesome. I wish it was as like what you're saying.
We're
looking for unicorns every day too.
From the outside in, like, I mean, coming from a business that looking to acquire more people to man the work, and when you deliver a good product, deliver a good service, everything business grows. Flip side comes trying to man all that and man it properly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to manage when you have a lot of growth. It means you have a lot of transactions, you have a lot of interactions. These interactions need to go well, right?
For us with that, you know, we have core values. In our last interview, we send people home with these core values, and we say, hey man, you need to look these over. You need to like look in the mirror. You need to ask yourself, am I going to be able to hold myself to these core values? Because we tell the people we hire and fire on these core values. So when somebody gets reprimanded, or if somebody is not living up to those core values, it's pointed out immediately, directly. And we, you know, it's who we are. You know what I'm saying?
If you don't mind me asking, can we know what those core values are?
Sure. I mean, they're on our website for everybody listening. And there's different examples that you can use for your staff in every which way or form. But it also keeps it from becoming personal when you have to hold somebody accountable. We just had a guy who was late for opening the store, for example, in the last week. And these things happen. You know, he's a young kid. He slept in, whatever it may be. Couldn't get a hold of him. And so we had to send somebody else in there. And so one of our core values is accept responsibility, right? And so it's not just saying, hey, that was my bad. It's, hey, what exactly are you going to be doing to ensure that this never happens again? Because if you do it again, now you were just manipulating us. Yeah. You didn't really accept responsibility.
Now you go and you find that person that had to come in and open the store for you. You say, hey, you know what, your next shift, I have you covered. And you're still going to get paid for that shift. I'm not doing it as in like covering it for pay. But that's just the right thing to do by you.
Sure.
Because I was the one that I wasn't accountable for what I was supposed to be doing.
That'd be cool.
For sure.
Yeah, that'd be next level. I mean, we hope our staff thinks like that, but, you know, shit happens, and, you know, that kid's going to, you know, the other guy that covered for him is going to have a bad day, and, you know, the one that slept in is going to cover for him too.
Yeah.
Be selfless, take initiative, go the extra mile, always be learning, build fun and positive relationships. What else? Help me out.
Lead by example.
Be disciplined.
Loyalty.
Lead by example. Loyalty.
Those are the two we've added. And we've had the same core value since 2011. We've added lead by example and loyalty to the two.
The most important one that we always tell people is believe. You have to believe in our system. You have to believe in what we do. You have to believe in wanting that the way that we do things is going to help people the best possible way. If you don't believe, it doesn't matter. You're not gonna truly follow the other ones. The belief has to be there first, and then the rest of them kind of follow. If you believe in the bigger picture, if you believe in what we're doing, then you're going to hold yourself to a higher discipline standard. You're going to be selfless. You're going to, go the extra mile for people. Mm-hmm. But if you don't believe, you're not going to.
To put this into like such an easy, like, actionable step is you're a young guy, you're getting started with a company, and you've gotten relatively good at the job, right? You've started to see that you can do well at this, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting coached like crazy. Imagine making it through the ranks, and now you manage your own store. Imagine your store is actually doing pretty good, and you're still getting coached, and you're still being told you suck at times. You know what I mean? That's the hardest part, is staying humble, which is one of our core values, right? Because
we forgot that one. You know why we forgot that one? That one's the fucking hardest. Dude.
Yeah,
it is. Hardest when you're that good.
The more years you're in it, the harder it is to stay humble. Because if I'm telling you, how to do something, and you think in your head you're going to run it through your own personal filter, you're going to say, well, yeah, it's kind of true, but you're going to come up with some asterisks, and you have to talk to yourself there and say,
buts.
Like, it's not always true. I mean, and it's like, hey, like, I'm telling you right now that if you believe in what I'm saying, if you believe in me, if you believe in our company, if you believe in our playbook, you need to just hold your ego right there and get what you can out of this conversation. But unfortunately, that's where people usually fall off.
Which I feel
they get to that point where they think they're too good.
There's a lot of humbling across. I mean, you can take that to every business model out there, that when people start feeling or start hitting that echelon of success. And I mean, I was guilty of it when I first got into car sales. I go in and like all these other people are selling, and I go in, and my dad had been training me for 2 years. I've been doing sales training.
Oh, dude, your dad came in. Oh, you're like the Messiah.
So our dad being an owner of the dealership.
Don't inflate his head already.
Oh, man, you came in just making it rain.
So he's like, if you're ever going to step foot on the sales floor, he's like, you're going to do sales training. So 2 years I detailed cars. Once I detailed cars, I went home and I did sales training at night. And I'd done all the sales training possible out there. So when I started selling cars, it was like, it was really easy for me.
Very natural.
And it was something like the first 2 months I go out and I just knock it dead. Like 20 plus cars right out the gate monthly. Like everyone's like
believing in that playbook that you create for someone.
Which it was funny. I just listened to what I was told and I did what I was supposed to do. Come around to that 3 month time. I mean,
yeah, dude.
Nobody on the planet was better at selling cars.
You can't be touched.
I know. So
yeah.
I would.
Yeah, that's the bell curve of success.
It is.
So basically, you have the point where you feel like, oh, dude, I know
the Midas touch.
I know I have it. And then you get up to the top, and then you're just like, you know what? I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. You know, I don't need to work on these leads.
Yeah, you take inventory and all the stuff that how you're spending your time, and you're like, that's not worth it anymore.
Which
I'm here now.
Now I'm like the biggest, like I'm the most firm believer in like all the small things, like even as we've seen success in like our company, the doing market strategy for every single account, doing all these other things that like everyone else gets away from doing as they see that success.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we do that every single time, no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter how busy we are, we do what we're supposed to do. All the small things add up to what makes that experience what it's supposed to be, makes what we do work. And it's like, even though that was like a 90-day thing, it took me 12 months to figure out in the car space.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a lifelong lesson that I've seen people that were 40, 50 years old come in the car space and still don't understand that.
Can I ask you guys a question on the car space? Do you guys have a busy season?
So you definitely always saw an uptick springtime.
Oh, after
summer.
tax returns? Is that a spot?
Tax money definitely affects a certain price point of inventory. When you're dealing in like high dollar trucks, stuff like that, you don't see a lot of fluctuation in that. Somebody that can buy that truck can buy it 12 months of the year. Mm-hmm. We saw a big uptick towards the end of December with trucks for companies, things like that, needing write-offs,
got it,
tax purposes. But in the car space, we also learned to counteract the lows with more marketing. And that's how we learned marketing. That's how we got into the space we're in, is we figured out when all these dealerships are doing this, we could spend more money. We could counteract that all the time.
Yeah.
There was the dollars and cents we could put with it to make sure we didn't have lows.
Right.
And we could keep that progress going.
Or your low is just much higher than most times.
Yeah, everyone's like, we're super dead. It's like, we sold X amount.
Your floor is way higher.
Yeah, so it was just like we switched things up, and there's people that I don't agree with it, but there's a lot of people that look at what everyone else is doing around them to judge like what their success looks like.
Mm-hmm. If they're doing a good job.
I don't do that. Like, I don't really care what any other marketing company in Kansas City does. Doesn't affect us. What we are doing affects our household tables. So I don't care what somebody else is doing. Car space, we did the same thing. I lived at our store. That's what we did. And they're like, well, so-and-so was way off this month. I'm like, well, so-and-so being off has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Focus on what you're doing every day and how you can do the best of what you're doing. And think like you guys didn't care about what Complete Nutrition was doing.
We've got to give Andy a lot of credit on that, because that was something that he really forced into us, is that, you never talk about your competition ever. No. Positive, negative, and you don't do it. You certainly don't do it to customers. That most unprofessional thing, you could do.
I would tell people would be like, well, I'm looking at a car over here. I'm like, oh, so-and-so, like I knew people everywhere. I'm like, so-and-so over there, great guy. Like if you go in there and you are going to buy a car from him, tell him I said, hey.
Right.
Like I didn't have negative, like, when you speak negatively about others, it looks bad on you.
Sure. Yeah, dude. Sure. People don't understand that. You tell that to a customer, and that customer goes over there and says that to that guy, and that guy looks at her, the customer like, he told you to what? He told you to say hi to me? And then she looks at him like he's an idiot, But it's like, well, that guy was nice, and you're being a dick, so.
Yeah. And that's, a lot of people think that in business that's like a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just ego showing, man. They just had to say something. I don't see it as egregious as I used to, but I still every have to say one little remark, right? And you can always tell, like, I wouldn't buy from there, but they're not bad guys, I guess, and it's like, well, you said what you needed to say there,
slight dig.
They always have to just sprinkle it in there,
You're in control of what you do every day.
Yeah.
So if you just get up every day and focus on controlling what you can control, things are fine.
Man, back to what you were saying as far as like the details too. Have you guys ever read Wooden on Leadership?
John Wooden,
by John
UCLA
Wooden.
coach.
I need to.
It's a great book, but he talks about in there. He goes, what's the most important thing I have my players do every day? and he says, tie their shoelaces. And the reason he says that is he goes through basically the chain reaction that happens if they don't tie their shoelaces a single way and they have their shoes untied in the middle of a game. And then it's an important portion of the game, yada, yada, yada. Anyways, it's a way of him saying that the devil is in the details, and that things that you think don't matter, like tying your shoelaces, can ultimately cost you the game if you don't pay attention to them. You know, and I think that's something that we really focus on in business too, is that, you know, sure, is the way that you clean the toilet, is it going to directly affect customers? No, but it's going to affect like who you are as a person. And if you're too lazy to clean the toilet, you're probably going to be too lazy to help the customer that comes in at 9:03 when we closed at 9. You know what I'm saying?
That's what at the dealership. Him and I cleaned the dealership for probably 5 years.
Yeah.
And our girlfriends would go up there, clean it with us, and then someone come in, they're like, well, the janitor can take care of it. I'm like, no, you're going to wipe your dirty shoes off outside before you come in.
Well, they would come in, and
I clean these floors for 4 hours every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it needs to be cleaned.
At the very, very like basis of this, it's teaching these employees that are used to being low level or starting out, teaching them ownership. Mm-hmm. You know, it's teaching them like, hey, these details matter. If you genuinely want to be in ownership, you have to start acting like it now. Ownership
mentality before you own.
I think it's just on every single thing you do, regardless of what it is. If it's cleaning the toilet, do it to the best ability that you can. And I think when you get that mindset of just doing it that way for everything,
yeah. Like, dude, honestly, when I came in here and you were talking about this office, like, that's the vibe that I got from you. It was like, dude, I vibe with people that care about things, and they're going through, and you were like talking about this and that, and you know, you were looking for the perfect space, and you wanted it a specific way. You know, we're like that too. We think about things probably almost too much because we care about everything.
Yeah, there's always like a vision that you have in your head, and it's just trying to make that vision a reality. And does it always work out perfectly the way that you think it's going to? No.
Yeah.
But do things always happen the way that they're supposed to? Yes. Like, however that's supposed to happen, it's going to happen.
For sure.
So it's like,
I mean, that's perspective for sure, though. I mean, there's a lot of people that are victims right now that are talking about how life, screwed them over, and they didn't look at it like that.
Yeah.
But your perspective is obviously very refreshing, and we hope that people could start thinking like that. But when their bills are due, or when, that client cancels, they start making excuses for themselves. They start going down that path of saying that, this happened to me versus I was in control. You know what I mean?
There's things like we've had accounts that we don't have from when we started. And was that their fault? No, it was our fault. Like, we've adjusted our product. We've adjusted what we do. We've adjusted our services. And I always call those people, and I was like, if we can do something different on our side, what would it be? Like, I want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've never burned a bridge with any of them.
Sure.
There's people that don't. There's a few accounts that we don't have, but business is ever evolving. It's changing. It's been hard for us on keeping up with that. There's been growth pains that come with that.
Sure.
That we've dropped the ball on things on, multiple occasions, but you have to own those things. But it's also like, we get up every day with the opportunity to do what we do.
Yeah.
We get to do what we do every day. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
but part of staying humble here, dude, is like what we're saying is there's a lot of people that somehow got into ownership. And as you deal with these new accounts that you're talking about, because you deal with all these owners, there are accounts where you, I'm sure, respect the owners a great deal. There's other owners where you're like, man, I don't know, how did they get to this point?
A lot of
because you're just like, I can't believe that.
We won't take on. So there's been people I've went and sat down with that if I genuinely sit with someone, which I'm not saying this like in a good or bad way, I've always just had kind of a way of like reading people, of like kind of what I think of their mentality and things like that. There's business owners I've went and sat down with, and if I just have a gut feeling that it's not right, I'll just tell them like, hey, I don't think we're the best fit for each other. I think we should part ways. If I truly don't think I can make them money, I don't want to work with them.
And what are they saying to you? What are they saying to you, Dan, that makes you feel like are you offering your services or speaking on your services, and they want to like make themselves a special customer that does these services their way?
No,
I think it's more so of like being a cog in a wheel. There's a lot of moving parts. We want to help push those parts forward. And it's like, if you're willing to, like, we all work together, we all got an end goal. It's like, hey, everyone's out here in life to make money, and you help people along the way, or you help people and you make money along the way. And if we have an end goal of just going up, then yeah, we'd love to help. But if you got one person, it's like, I'm just going to sit here and you supply me everything.
There's some people that just have unrealistic expectations.
Sure.
And there's that, but then there's also like nothing's their fault. Nothing that they've done is their fault. And it's like when you come across those people, it like almost makes my like skin crawl.
Mm-hmm.
That we have came to a luxury of we don't have to work with people we don't want to work with.
That's a great feeling.
But it's the people we do work with, we get to bring all this value. And we talk about it all the time. I hate the word like client because they're friends with us now.
Sure.
Like these are people of probably, I would say 50% plus of the accounts we have, they've been to my house, drinking, hang out with us in the garage, things like that. Like they're friends of ours now. These are people I want all the success in the world for. So it's like sometimes there's people out there that you just meet that you know that they'll never have success because their mindset isn't correct.
Right.
But it's like you listen to Andy like on his podcast, and I listen to a lot of his podcasts. You know that guy's going to he's going to conquer the world if it's the last thing he does.
He's a psychopath. In a good way.
He is, but he is so hungry for what he was going to do that no one's going to get in that.
It's an obligation for him, yeah. It's
Yeah.
100% an obligation.
No one's getting in his way to slow him down.
You know what the coolest thing about Andy is? So the reason that probably me and Jeff are even sitting here is, like I was saying, you know, we joined the company in like 2008, 2009, and like Andy was talking the same way back then. Mm-hmm. He was talking like, we're going to be the biggest retailer.
Dude, the first jug of level 1 in Formula 1 from First Form, on the side of the label, it said the world's best protein. He had just launched it. Like, awfully bold.
But there's that level.
The protein's been around 4 days.
By the way, their energy drink that they just came out with, they had to talk Andy off a cliff because he was trying to
name the drink.
He was trying to name
the best energy drink on earth.
Energy drink on earth. And they're like, you can't put fucking on there, and like that's getting to get into.
It still made it onto the case.
It's still a marketing thing.
But the thing is, he just has that confidence. Like when you know that you can do something, you know you can outwork everyone, and when I feel like I'm going to feel it even more as we keep exploding, is when you start bringing people like you around that, and that pyramid of people keeps growing of what he's done.
Yeah.
I would have no problem putting out energy drink saying I got the best fucking energy drink on the planet.
Yeah.
Like if I have the people around me to sell it and do all that stuff, I'd be so confident to throw anything out there.
Dude, the more you get into this, the more you recognize that it doesn't matter what space you're in. There are very few brands that are genuinely doing things that are so innovative, that are so hard to copy, right? You recognize, like, dude, if you want to make the best protein, like, you actually can relatively quick, in the sense of you can only make it so good. There's only so much that technology can do for you when it comes to that. Does that make sense?
People don't want to give up the profit margin. That's the reason.
To be the best, right? And so
it's
so easy for us to keep staff. And back then in 2008, 2009, 2010, when we were growing so fast, it's because he was legitimately 100% dedicated to being the best and holding that standard. You know, so it was very easy to stick around because in your head, you're like, well, I want to be the best. I want to be a part of this growth.
Dude, you know, my background, I came from a very middle-class family. Both my parents worked at Boeing. I went to college just like everyone is supposed to do. He was the first dude that came into my life that like looked me in the face and said like, dude, you can own a business. Why can't you own a business? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I guess I could. He's like, there's no fucking magic to it. There's no magic to it. And that, I mean, was probably the most priceless thing he's ever done for me in my life, you know, giving me the confidence to be able to do that. Because in my head, I was thinking, you know, the way life goes is you go to college, you get a job, you know, you guys know the normal deal. And you know, he was the first guy to be like, yeah, dude, you can own a business. You know,
giving yourself permission to allow yourself to think that way is tough sometimes. And you should own a business.
You're good at this. And, you know, and that's why when he helped fund us to open, you know, in 2016, you know, it completely changed our lives, you know. And like I said, it was it was something that, you know, he'd been talking about for such a long time that it wasn't even a question of whether it was going to happen. It was just, he always gives the analogy of, you know, businesses like baking a cake. You got to have recipe, you got to have ingredients, and you have to have the right recipe. He's like, we have the right recipe. The ingredients are, you know, the core values that we have. If you're pouring those ingredients into the recipe, it's only a matter of time. Unfortunately, you have to put the cake into an oven and you have to let the cake bake. And, you know, in business, a lot of times things don't happen as fast as we want them to, but they're eventually going to happen if you have those first two things right. If you have the recipe right, you have the ingredients right, you're putting the, you know, in the oven, then eventually you're going to have success. It just depends on how long it takes the cake to rise, you know.
And these 18 to 24-year-olds that we talked about before, it's so tempting to watch their peers, right? You watch them all on social, stunting, talking about how awesome their life is and how much money they're making, and they're sitting here working on a holiday, you know, having to open the store, you know, maybe deal with a disgruntled customer.
Shit, dude, when I was like, you know, in 2011, 2012, I had some buddies that came right out of college, and, you know, one of my best friends went right to making $250K a year. And I remember he told me that, and you could have he was Donald Trump to me at the time. I was like, what? Did you say 250? What the fuck are you going to do with all that money, bro? Like, what? Who do you work for? I was like, oh, and he like bought a boat and stuff, and I was just like,
I'll never forget when he came back from that trip.
In my soul, I was like, whoa, dude.
And,
I was
and
like,
to finish my point though, like if you're going to have that, because this is what happens, right? These guys will get home from like a trip to the lake with their buddies, and when they hit that 24, 25, 26, you start getting that envy, that jealousy of like your friends doing better than you, and you start forgetting why you did what you did, right? And so what we have to remind everybody is like, this is a Betty Crocker award-winning recipe. Okay, you are not special. You do not need to turn the temperature up twice as high and cook it for half as long to make a better cake. You just ruin the cake.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we try to explain to them, is that like this recipe calls for this. The only thing that you're not allowed to control is the time that it takes to bake. And if you just sit and watch, I guarantee you it'll be the best cake you've ever had. But you got to wait for time to do its thing. And everybody in business has that.
Which I feel like that's a lot on. I mean, we were those guys that came straight out of college just making astronomical amount of money. We'd been bred we'd been bred all the way through college to go do that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and you guys had a proven system you jumped right into.
So it was like we were trained to step straight into it. Like we were ready to roll. Mm-hmm. And it was, I come out of college, I do that for 3 years, and I was like, this is miserable.
Unfulfilling or what?
I was trading my life for a amount of money.
Yeah.
And I step out of the dealership.
And just to be clear on this, Dan, because we're not really familiar with your guys' story as much, was it the time consumingness of it?
So
it never bordered with ethics, did it?
No, it didn't border with ethics.
You always were doing the right thing with people. It just took forever.
I very much enjoyed what I did.
Sure.
I enjoyed getting to help people, changing a stigma in the car space that was so messed up.
Sure.
And we thoroughly enjoyed that part. But it was finally came to a point that it was jeopardizing family relationships. So our dad was one of the owners of the dealership, so we were working with our dad every day. The two of us were in there. So we got to where there's no really like personal relationship. It was just a work relationship. And we didn't do stuff as a family as much anymore because it's like we're at
you see each other
all day, every day.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it was jeopardizing my relationship with my girlfriend. Like for 3 years, I never went and had a lunch with her. Like if we set dinner plans, everyone went to dinner and I showed up late. We'd go to the lake with friends, and I would drive in Saturday to work and everyone would be at the lake on Saturday. Then I'd drive back Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, granted, was I making more money than all my friends? Yeah, by a long ways. Was he making more money than all of his friends? Yeah, by a long ways. And it was like, they saw these big fancy houses and cars and stuff like that. And finally I was like, if it came to a point where I got in a car wreck and I'm laying on my deathbed at the hospital and somebody came to me, they said, are you happy with your last 12 months? I tell my girlfriend this all the time. If you can ever just look at that one thing, I would have been so pissed at myself. Like, cause you never know when that last day is. And it's like, I don't know if I'll live to be 70. I don't know if I'll live to be 35. Like tomorrow's not promised, but it was like, I was sacrificing everything for amount of money.
Yeah.
I step away from the dealership. Within a month, I have another dealership call and offer me $500,000 starting. And
that's wild.
At 25 years old. And like, when you get into the car buying space, like which was a lot what I was in, money gets very, very steep there if you can handle these big dealerships. But it was 7 days a week. So it was taking on more time than I already had, like with the current store. And I was just like, I can't take it. Mm-hmm. And the guy at the dealership, he's like, you're the only 25-year-old I know that'll turn down that amount of money. I told him, I'm like, dude, it's literally not worth it.
I'm the only 25-year-old you ever offered that amount of money to, bro.
Which it was a dealership
That's
group.
very true.
It was
very true.
A very large group that wants young people in the car business that understand the car business, because it's becoming a very scarce space.
Yeah.
That we were talking about those like unicorns you guys were looking for earlier. That car space, that under 30 space is getting very, very, very weak.
Well, you get people that hop in, and it's like, hey, everyone's always promised, like, hey, you're good at sales, go sell cars. And then you go sell cars, and it's like, hey, I made a lot of money. And then it's like 2-3 months in, you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And then they don't make money. Then they're like, I got to find a different job.
Yeah.
Rather than, hey, let's step back, look at what I was doing. And like you guys said, like taking yourself accountable. They don't do that, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go do something else. So
you haven't generated any leads because you didn't really help those customers all the way with the right intent. If you could sell those cars, the first 90 days because your hair's on fire, you're psyched about making money, et cetera. But if those didn't generate you more leads, it means you didn't do a great job with them, and that's just the truth, man. You got to sit with that.
My wife's like number one pet peeve with me, when we go buy or look for like expensive stuff, she hates it going with me. Like we bought a new Tahoe, and we were looking for a Tahoe here, and we went to a couple different dealerships, and the customer service we got, I legitimately, like in my soul, have a hard time buying something that's that expensive. When I'm in my head, I'm like, everything this person is doing, I would be just up my employee's ass about acting this way. And it is legitimately fucking 5,000 times more money that I'm going to be spending with this person.
And you won't even get a thank you card.
We
Exactly.
We remodeled our kitchen, and we got all new kitchen appliances, spent a ton of money on it. And our freaking, person that was helping us with that, I was like, this person sucks. And Kim's like, this is what we want. It's not about the person. I was like, it is about the person.
I'm exchanging my money for this experience, and I don't like it.
I was like, I don't like it.
It's very true.
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I have this discussion all the time. I mean, we were at dinner last night having this discussion with Ricky and Lauren about, I have no problem going out and spending a lot of money on a dinner. But a dinner is, half of it is the food and half of it's the service. If you go out to
whole experience,
100%.
The experience of it.
Yeah.
If I go to McDonald's and I get shitty service, I expect it.
Yeah.
right?
I'm not going to be bummed out. Like my
It's
girlfriend,
gonna happen
my
next
girlfriend
time I
gets
go there.
she gets all bent out of shape. I'm like, what did you expect? If I go to Eddie V's or Capital and I get shitty service, then I got a problem. Mm-hmm. Like, I paid a lot of money for that experience.
Yeah.
And the food, but it's like the food side is only a portion of it. There's a reason that you can go to McDonald's and have a $30 meal, or you can go to Eddie V's or Capital and have a $300 or $400 meal.
Yeah, Outback and Longhorn are pretty good steaks too.
Yeah, but it's like when you start,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could say that to them, like, hey man, why did I come here?
Exactly.
I'm talking to the manager at Eddie V's or Capital Grill. It's like, we know we can get steaks elsewhere. Why did I come here?
But that experience,
one's 30, one's 80.
Rarely do
where's the other 50 going?
Yeah.
Thanks for dry aging mine or whatever you did. But
rarely do I have those like times at those restaurants where I ever, like, that's rarity to see at those places.
Sure.
But it's the same thing. It's like, could I order my supplement stuff online, or could I go buy it or at GNC, or could I come to Supplement Superstore? I know I'm going to be greeted. I know it's going to be a good experience each and every time that I go in there. And then I also like the card that comes in the mail later.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just that perfect touch on top. And I'm like, I just like have that.
Our whole thing that we say to our guys is like, hey, if a store was to open up right next door that was selling exactly what we sell here, and they were selling it cheaper, why would people still come here? That is your mentality with every single customer. If you don't have that mentality, then you're going to lose.
They're going to sell the same product for $1 cheaper. Why are they coming back to you?
Yeah.
The weird thing is, like, I can tell you to date, the first person I ever saw when I came in a Supplement Superstore in Liberty was Tori.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And the reason I remember her is because she sent a letter to my house.
Yeah, Tori's great.
And being in a sales space was something that it's like, I appreciate 10 times more than probably a normal person.
Sure.
But when I got that, I like looked at my girlfriend. I was like, oh my gosh.
We found our store.
I was like, it's just that's the it factor.
Yeah.
That was that one step further that no one else is doing.
Yeah, and dude, it's, that's why a lot of people, they don't replicating that or actually taking the time to do that. It's one thing to say you're going to do it. It's a different thing to actually do it and do it consistently. And then that card was probably personalized. Tori's really good at personalizing cards.
And hey, Dane, like, super glad you came in the store, like, last Friday, blah, blah, blah. Like, goes in the whole thing. I was like,
yeah, the card had to be to you. It couldn't have been anybody else.
If it was something that was just pre-typed from Supplement Superstores, like a generic thing, I probably wouldn't have thought twice about it. But it was handwritten from her. And it was just like, that's why I remember my first experience there.
You know what's crazy? Well, there's a lot of parallels. So whenever I've been, over the years of training my staff, I always draw it back to car sales too, because you guys can relate to this. People are walking in, unfortunately, with that jaded feeling, right? They already have been screwed over by an ex, if you will.
Here comes the car salesman.
People hate going to car dealers.
People hate walking into supplement stores.
Yeah.
Okay. They already think it's going to be like their typical. I always because again, we're not going to be direct and talk negatively about competition, but it was like, and if you've had like a typical mall store experience, just know that we're not the same. I know it can appear like that based on what we sell and so forth, but it's just really, everybody that works here is a professional. We take our job very serious as far as helping people with our knowledge. If you're not needing that knowledge today, please, love our selection and please love our prices, but we'd love to actually help you further if we could, And that's the hardest part, is trying to, it might take 10 visits, and that's not an exaggeration, for some customers to have the level of comfort to where they can actually take advantage of the real value that we provide outside of being a convenient spot for them to stop and grab what they need. You know what I mean? And that's coming from that trust that we have to build through every interaction of letting them know, like, hey, we're not here just to sell you shit. We're here to genuinely actually make a relationship with you and be a long-term customer for you.
Which is crazy how much that, like, trust builds on that person. Like, I remember...
That's why it's hard to replicate the business.
It is very hard because, like, when I went in there, and it's like, I got to where I knew a few people at the Liberty store, and if I walk in there and, like, I don't know anyone, then I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm in a foreign land because I don't know anyone.
They don't know you by name either, right? But most of the time they know you.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, hey, man, what's going on? It's like, they're still super nice, but it's like, I have, like, a trust with these few other people that were there. So it's like,
you got to retell your story. You got to retell your likes, your dislikes.
So it comes into like a full circle. I'm like, no, they know they hooked me up with this last time. This is just what I'm getting. Like,
and you want to be psyched for the employee that you love, because we just promoted them to somewhere else.
Exactly.
And we're growing, and it's like, well, yeah, I'm sorry that person left. Like,
they're 25 now. That's our cutoff. He's moving up the chain.
Yeah. But that's those people, when they're doing those things, like, you just know when those people are going to progress.
Sure.
Like,
not a matter if, just a when.
Exactly. And that, like, they're doing all those small things. They're going to progress. They're going to grow in the company.
They get it, and and it's funny because it's like, we'll have somebody who, like yourselves, who are regular customers or just have had experience with multiple employees. They'll get one of our newer staff who are just trying to find themselves personally. They have a good job. They like the job, but they're still trying to figure out, like, what am I going to go all in at? They haven't really done it yet, right? They're not really fully bought in yet. And then, like, you have an experience with that person, and they're like, yeah, they were at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you met Tori. Tori's like, no, this is my career.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
100%.
And you know what I'm saying? It's totally different.
You definitely see the difference in some of those people. Like, I think there was like one guy came in there. I don't think he's there anymore, but I came in there and I, like, met him and stuff, and I was just like, I know when they're going to be there for a long time, and I know when they're not.
Yeah.
And it's like, I went in, I met the guy. I was like, I don't think he's going to be there that long.
Anybody you have that feeling with, I need you to text me.
All right. But it's just like one of those things that you can tell, like, when they're trying too hard. They're like, this is like what you're like. This is a training you're given. You don't really have it factor. You're not really implementing it right. You're here at work.
It's like the best way I can describe it, and this is what we try to explain to our staff. It's like, who are you trying to do a good job for? You met that new employee. They were trying to do a good job for me and Kyle. They thought in their head they were doing a good job.
Yeah.
But like, we're trying to tell them, no. That's your boss, the person that you were just talking to. Do a good job for them. Make them excited. Make them psyched that they talk to you. Make sure that they know your name for all the good reasons, right? But in their head, they're like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And they're all doing it with the wrong intent, or they're thinking too hard about it. They're not giving it the right thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it comes across disingenuous, or somebody who's just at work, and they lose the experience because of it. And that's just one of those things where you can only learn that by having enough reps, right?
Yeah.
The first few cars you sold, you might have done it with a different thought process in your head.
And there's always that like fear factor too of like, now you can go, we could all go step into a supplement superstore. Every single person walks in, go up and meet and greet them and just feel like a second nature. Mm-hmm. Like I have no issue going up and talking to anyone on the street. If you say, hey, go talk to the first 10 people you find on the street, talk to them for 10 minutes. I have no problem doing that.
Sure.
If you did that to me at 18, 19 years old, I'd be terrified.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know that person.
It's like when you had to give presentations in college.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, what if I mess up?
Yeah.
But it's,
and then,
well, I think that when I first started working in the store, another thing that helped me too is I did telemarketing for 2 years prior, and I literally was like, oh, I'll talk to anybody all day. If somebody doesn't hang up on the phone or doesn't hang up on me, I'll seriously keep them on the phone forever. And then I was also working in the bars, which I don't know if you guys did that.
The bar scene, I think people should have to go into some sort of like service industry. Like we talked about on previous ones, like what the car business taught us in the years that we were in it is, I mean, I would take that over what college
Invaluable.
What college gave me to what that gave me, I'd take the car business 10 times over again.
Oh, dude.
Experience over the classroom every time on that.
Yeah.
When we're talking about service-based industries, has to be experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it gets you comfortable in that uncomfortable space. And I watched a deal, I don't know if it's a podcast or listen to a podcast, but they're like, this guy, he's like, the best way you can get comfortable with no, he's like, go into 10 stores and just ask for a 20% discount. No matter what the store is. And he's like, you will be put in an awkward situation.
Yeah.
And he's like, the person checking you out is in the same situation. And they're like, 8 out of 10 times they give it to you. He's like, you don't need a coupon, none. Just go and just be like, I want 20% discount.
Yeah.
And that person checking you out, they're like, what? And he's like, it's awkward. But he's like, you do that? He's like, it'll get you comfortable with being in awkward situations.
No doubt that'll help.
I was like, that's one way to do it.
That's hilarious.
So
no, it's just you just get used to it, man.
Yeah.
When I was in more direct sales type jobs, it was like after you get told no a certain amount of times, you're like, okay, I didn't die. Life goes on.
Yeah.
I just go knock another door. No big deal.
So I started looking at like, I don't remember who I was listening to or something on some training, but they were just talking about like out of 10 car deals, if 9 of them tell you no and 1 tells you yes, and so you make $1,000 on that one, every one of them paid you $100. So it's like just having a different perspective of how you look at it.
It's phenomenal, yeah.
And it's like
you got paid for them to say no.
Exactly. So every one of those no's was still paying you.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just looked at it that way, it's like every time you got somebody told you no, I was like, I just got paid $100.
I love that. That's great.
I just got paid another $100, and like,
dude, when I was working freaking on the phones, I would get told no. I would get told or no hung up on. I'd make 100 calls a night. If I closed 2 of those deals, I would be psyched about it. Mm-hmm. And you know, it was just part of it. That got me used to the grind of it. You know, even though I would not. I don't know if I'd recommend telemarketing for people. It is good in some ways, but it's also
it's a lot of no's.
Yeah,
I think
it is a lot of no's.
Any point of sales or just like customer service or anything that somebody has to directly deal with people all day, every day, I think people should have to do.
For sure.
I think it's all perspective, right? And how were they parented? How were they groomed? What other jobs have they had? We try to get people who have worked other places on purpose because we want them to understand the opportunity that they truly have in front of them. Mm-hmm. And it's so difficult to understand it until you lose it. If you're a young person who's only worked in maybe like your classic young person jobs, right? You worked either as a lifeguard somewhere, at a camp somewhere,
umpire,
a restaurant.
Yeah. I worked at a go-kart track.
Just where they don't demand a lot of you. And so for a lot of people that work for us, this is their first job where they're really held accountable. I mean, they're really actually held accountable to the point where they're like, oh, this is serious, And I think it's just super important for them to understand, like, if we could get somebody to hold them to a high level somewhere before they get to us, it'd be so much more helpful. But we're usually we've got a lot of employees that are doing a great job for other companies right now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They're like, man, I became a man at that job. You're like, yeah.
But that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, we know that we're not going to keep everybody, and we want, the people that don't stay with us, we want them to be better people so they can look back at their time at S2 and really feel like, man, I got a lot. I got a lot out of that. I got more out of that than I did out of, college or, going to school.
Like when I first got in the car business and I got to management, I lost a couple salespeople that I sat there. I trained them Monday through Friday. Every single morning we had sales training. I set a different hour schedule than what they'd ever had before. I'm like, you're going to get here early. We're going to train before you start every day. I'm like, but we're not going to be mediocre at what we do. You guys are going to become good at what you do. And some of these people left, and at first I had this like,
yeah, they don't believe in me. What's going on here?
Exactly. It was something that was, and I didn't lose a bunch of them, but there were some people that like dropped off.
Especially people that you personally like pegged as like, this would be a good person.
Exactly.
And when they don't believe in you, you're like, what?
And it was like, they would step out and they had a better opportunity than what I could give them.
Initially.
With where I was at, like, it was something that we were a large used independent car dealership. Same thing like when I stepped out, I had a big, huge offer from a monster franchise store that sometimes those franchise stores could give better offers that we couldn't. And in the beginning, it was hard for me to like accept. But as I've like further down the road, I was very thankful that I had the opportunity to give them a stepping stone to get to that. And it's like anytime that somebody has that opportunity to go do better for themselves, I will never fault anyone for it. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone is out there to do the best for themselves, to supply for their family, to do the best that they can for the people around them and everything like that. And if you have a phenomenal opportunity, I'll never fault someone for taking an opportunity that they feel that is better for them.
It's a great mentality. Yeah.
And it's our whole thing, dude, is, when we say we want to be the largest, or we're going to be the largest retailer of supplement superstores in the nation, we mean it.
Oh, 100%. And we're going to do I know that's going to happen.
We're doing internal franchising. So we have internal franchising. We're also building out a world headquarters. We're doing all these things. And so for us, when we're dealing with our employees and we say, hey, you have a chance of a lifetime, we like fucking mean it, dude. It's like, we need you to stay here. Not only do we need you to stay here, you need to stay here, and you don't know it yet.
That's to say, it's hard to point at things that haven't happened yet. And so that's, me and Kyle are like that example for a lot of our staff, but some of our staff are not like sold on wanting to own their own business yet. They don't think big enough, or they don't think in their head that that's for them, and that's okay. We're going to have tons of other jobs for them as this company grows.
I think that's just a lot of times believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I think it takes a while to get that confidence to establish that like 4 years ago, I didn't believe that in myself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now where I'm at today is like, if I could look back at anyone to say, hey, take that step, go. If you believe in yourself, 1%, go for it.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, go for it.
For sure.
Don't be scared. Like,
for sure.
And especially when you're that young, man, make those mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like 100%, just go
Gary
100%.
I think Gary Vee, I see that every single day on Instagram. He's like, if I go back to tell everyone in their 20s just to go for it.
Dude, I'd sell fucking rocks if I was
Hey, have you guys seen?
I'd sell peanut butter. I don't know.
You guys seen? You guys follow Theo Vaughn?
I do not.
Oh my!
I'm gonna have to now.
You literally need to watch Theo Vaughn's Gary Vee impressions. They're fucking.
I have seen the impressions,
dude.
and someone actually called Gary Vee out. They're like, "What do you think on these?" He's like, "I'm getting more publicity." He's like,
he goes, "I think they're funny."
Yeah, dude.
I love him for it.
It's so funny because what's he call him? Jerry. He calls him Jerry C or something. I don't know. You got to look it up.
Jerry G.
It's fucking hilarious, dude.
I don't know. Fucking peanut butter.
You know what the best?
Just do it. You know.
Hey, this is for real though. You know what the best thing Gary Vee's ever said that like I really took to heart when Gary Vee was becoming popular. He was like, "Listen," he's like, "Your 20s, they don't even fucking matter. You can literally just punt your 20s." He's like, and you let's say you just completely fuck up your 20s. You go down the wrong path. You try, a business, or you work for the wrong company. He's like, who gives a shit? You wake up and you're 30 and you still have the rest of your life left. And
Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You read Grant Cardone's book. I don't think he got really up and running like
10X
or I think in all of them he kind of talks about his story, but he didn't get up and go until he was like 31, 32.
Yeah.
He was still stuck in the car business doing the same fucking ring around circles we were.
Yeah.
Like, and I know through his late 20s he was on drugs and doing all kinds of other shit on a terrible path, but it's like there's also people I know that are in their early 30s that have turned stuff around, and what they've done in 24 months, 36 months, it's like I don't think people understand how much can be done in such a short period of time.
For sure.
Grant Cardone's a good example as to what visibility can do for you. He wrote, Sell or Be Sold, 10X. He started his social media, basically arbitrage, where he was just, dominating, personal development space. And then he dropped the opportunity to invest in a syndication. And then he's got, 10 million eyeballs on him every single day of people who care about money, and he's got all of these investors at his fingertips. I think that was a genius business play.
The dude is
genius.
A complete marketing
He's great
genius.
at sales too.
He is
obviously
a sales genius. He has conquered every single one of those ticks and done it 10 times better than that next guy.
Yeah.
Like, and it shows.
When I saw what he was doing, I was like, oh, god damn, dude. He's been working on that for that's a 10-year play.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Some would say he wrote the book on it.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, multiples. With everything you guys are speaking about 10X, how many stores is it in Kansas City that you own right now?
Our 8th one
About
will
to
open
be
here in a
8.
few weeks.
About to be 8.
Shout out Ward Parkway if you guys are in that area in Kansas City. We're finally going to have a store in Midtown.
Hell yeah. I have a feeling it's going to I feel like when things start kind of snowballing, it happens so much faster.
Yeah.
Is there any crazy future plans? Like, what's the expansion look like for you guys as
franchisees?
Yeah.
I mean, Kyle
we're also, we also are executives through S2 franchising as well. And so we work on not just Supplement Superstores Kansas City, but I would say 50% of our time has now been
on the corporate side.
Also working on the corporate side, basically working on deploying, franchises across the country in the future. And so, yeah, it's, for us, we are going to internally franchise. We're going to give our employees the opportunity to go own their own markets,
And we'd like to do it like the Chick-fil-A model to give you, that some credit that we talked about earlier. I think we haven't figured out exactly the details of how we're going about it, but we really, really are using that as a good basis of comparison.
Why the Chick-fil-A model is so genius is because if we think about what was slowing us down in the beginning, me and Jeff or the way that I would, consider ourselves is we're experts at culture, we're experts at customer service. The shit that slows us down is basically all the technical business stuff. And I would say our employees, because of, basically what we're experts at, our employees are also experts in those things. And the people that we send to these markets are going to be experts at customer service and culture. So if we can take things off their plate that they don't need to worry about, I think that's the recipe, like you were saying, to really be able to take off and grow at a faster clip. I want the people that we send to other markets to worry about helping customers, growing culture, hiring the best people. Those are the things.
They're not worried about payroll, paying leads, doing all these other things. Is
being slowed down by things that aren't important to their customer acquisition and retention.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A took all of that off their owner's plate, and it's beautiful. Now they don't have to think, dude, me and Jeff spend a bunch of time going and looking at retail spots. This new spot that we're opening up in Ward Parkway, it has a Kansas City headquarters in the background or back of it. We had to design that. We had to work on. You guys know what it's like. You just there's a lot of busy work that actually isn't driving profit, right?
Exactly.
And so if we can take that busy work off our guys' plates in the future, I think it's going to accelerate how fast we can grow and the success we'll have, because a lot of people that are in our industry, they don't have that dedication to the
it's not what they get into it.
The nuances.
It's not what they're passionate about.
They're I feel like it's two different mindsets a lot of times on that. And I know since our company has grown a lot, that's when I kind of transitioned from that, hey, I'm going to hand off a lot of the day-to-day actual marketing stuff to me running a business.
Yeah.
Of me going out looking at commercial space, me going out doing all these things.
On the business versus in the business.
Exactly. So we talk about that a lot of times on the podcast. And
the E-myth.
Yeah. It's if you can get to where you're on that outside of working on that business all the time, it's crazy how fast that growth accelerates.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
If you're what's in the business is operating it the way that you did, then absolutely right.
But
so that's the if thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The hardest part to do.
The if and the trust.
I try to explain to people our retail store, the hardest part for us was just going from 1 stores to 2. It's just doubling yourself is.
That's also because we emptied our bank account. That was pretty nerve-wracking. Jeff doesn't pay attention to our bank account, so I was like freaking out. And he's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Dude,
takes what it takes.
We have no money, bro.
Just go for it.
Takes what it takes.
You're either like I tell.
Jeff's like, we'll be okay, man.
We had plenty of money.
Dude,
See,
I can
we
live
got
on
the
a
space.
sofa. I can live on a
That's
sofa.
true. Actually, at that time,
I can live in a
we were
shed. I
living
don't
in
care.
a shitty situation. So,
Which I tell people all the time. I'm like, I feel like
Made it work.
I'm the captain of a ship. I'm either going to take the son bitch to the moon. I'm going to take the son bitch to the bottom of the ocean. Either way, we're going. We're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like we're not just floating.
And you're going 100 miles an hour.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But dude, it's like that's why we're a really good partnership as the yin and yang, because we have such different philosophies and what I think is important. It's not something that he knows it's important because he's been around long enough to know it, but it's not like what he's going to spend his time on, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So we've been really complementary to each other's strengths and weaknesses on that stuff.
Yeah, I think you guys are absolutely killing it in the Kansas City space. If there's anything that you could tell business owners and people watching, just one thing, I know that's a pretty loaded question, on what they can implement in their business today to make it better, what would that be?
I got one if you want to think on yours.
yeah, I'll think of mine.
Every single business, I would say, if you're operating one and you're genuinely at a struggle point where you're like, I don't know what to do, I think you got to take inventory of how you do things and ask truly, what are you doing the best at? Like, what are you actually the best at? And if you're not, then you got an issue, and you need to triple down on your strengths. And then you can separate yourself from the business and say, what am I the best at? You know, like my strength would be sales, culture, things that I can, if I'm getting in front of a customer, right? So I need to get in front of more customers. So what can I do about that? Does that make sense? Yep. So it's just starting off with, what are you the best at as a business? For us, we're not going to be able to compete on price. Amazon exists. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to compete on price. Like, we're going to
Even though you guys are always very competitive on
we'll
price.
Be fair.
You're always like, for the stuff I get, if I look at, like, I have Amazon Prime, so I can have shit in 2 days. Like,
sure.
But it's like, the stuff I look at there and the price in your guys' store is very, very competitive.
I was about to say,
fair.
Man, we've spent a bunch of time trying to be as close to what you could find it on the internet as possible.
The problem
is that well, sorry, you finish your thought.
Consumer behavior is based on price certain times, right?
Yep.
But consumer behavior is also, no one wants to get screwed over more than they want to find a good deal. Okay? So when people don't value quality, they don't value service, they're going to shop on price.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So, you know, we don't have the cheapest 5-pounder of whey in the country. If you look hard enough, you'll find something cheaper. But that customer is not going to value us anyway, even if they did decide to buy that from us.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to value my service. They're not going to value the quality. So, you know, you just have to really, truly lean in on what you absolutely know is what you're the best at. And then obviously try to be as good as you can on these other things. But for us, like I said, price is something that we will not absolutely win outright, but we're going to absolutely try to win on service and experience over anything else. And so we're just going to triple down on that experience. If Amazon can't do it, we're going to do it fucking awesome.
Well, you guys are doing it fucking awesome.
We can't, Amazon's not going to bring 100 people together for a workout like you guys helped us with.
No.
For Big Brothers, Big Sisters, for someone that, you know, lives in our community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Amazon's not going to be at your church 5K. No. They're not going to be at the charity fundraiser. They're just not going to be there. But we're going to be there every time, and we're going to shake your hand, and we're going to remember your name.
Yeah, I think that's been a big thing too. Is, you know, if you're a business owner, you need to be selling something that, you know, you need to teach somebody about, right? So if there's something that if you're,
is this your one thing?
I mean, this is kind of just a riff off of yours, but you know, I think any business that, you know, I don't need your advice on is in trouble, right? What I mean by that is, like, if I'm going to buy this couch, right? Well, that's not a good example because I kind of.
Well, dude, what they do is a great example is Moss Marketing Group.
Yeah.
A lot of people can sell, you know, ad services.
For sure.
So you have to teach me what's the best way to invest my dollars.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know the first thing about ad services, right? So you guys are in the business of not only selling those services, but also teaching people about marketing, right? And that's something that is not going to go away, no matter what kind of business is coming around. But there's a lot of businesses out there that sell a stool, right? And my wife buys shit off Wayfair all the time that she has she's just like, I don't need anybody's opinion on this. Yeah. And if you're in that
I read the reviews.
Yeah, I read the reviews.
The reviews are good.
Yeah. If you're in a business selling something that somebody doesn't need your opinion on, that's you need to figure out a way to create a culture around what you do that's going to make it cool to shop at your place, or you need to sell something that you have to teach people about. And I guess that could be my thing. But I was going to say my thing was going to be, always treat your customers as your number one employee. Culture is a huge thing with us. And, our employees are the ones that are dealing with customers, face to face. The way that we treat them is basically going to be a reflection of how the way that they're going to treat customers. And you need to make sure that you're putting them in a position where they can be successful. You're not putting unrealistic expectations on them, and that you're creating an environment that they want to stay working for and that they like working for. Right. And so that would be my one thing, I guess. I guess that's two things, but
it was perfect.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we wrap up the podcast with each week, is what you guys would tell other business owners. And I think those are huge takeaways.
Mm-hmm. And if you own a restaurant, and it's an expensive restaurant,
carry
make sure
ranch.
you're fucking carry ranch. Make sure your servers don't suck. Like, God, I was spending expensive.
Just dream big and don't quit.
Yeah. And shoot for the moon all the time. Yeah. So we are going to plug everything for Supplement Superstore underneath.
Sure.
So
thank you guys for having us on, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, guys.
Once again, huge thanks for you guys coming on.
Yeah.
We'll also plug Protein Bros.
Mm-hmm. Protein Bros podcast.
Oh,
so,
I was trying to do a little marketing right here. I figured Jeff was going to be
clearly an obvious twin of me and Kyle right there on the cartoon.
Perfect.
Looks just like us.
My beard's looking pretty thick here, but whatever.
Once again, can't thank you guys enough for being on. Keep killing it in everything you're doing. And this is what I live for. This is the Key Reiki. This is the M3 podcast.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.